This is the Washington Times front page for Thursday, July 28, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The Biden administration has formally asked Russia to make a deal to bring home women's basketball star Brittney Griner and former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan, who are detained on dubious charges. Guy Taylor reports Secretary of State Antony Blinken confirmed that U.S. officials offered Russia a significant proposal relating to Griner and Whelan. He declined to confirm reports that the Biden administration was proposing to swap the two Americans for Russian arms dealer Victor Bout, who is in prison in the United States. Openly pushing for such a trade may represent a shift for the U.S., which has long resisted prisoner swaps because of concern they could encourage hostage-taking and promote false equivalency between wrongfully detained Americans and foreign nationals justly convicted in American courts. West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin has reached a deal with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on a party line bill to raise taxes and spending on climate change and health care programs. The deal, Ramsey Touchberry reports, mirrors what Manchin said he wouldn't support, including increased taxes on large corporations and wealthy individuals. But Manchin Press Secretary Sam Runyon said this wasn't a reversal, pointing to the senator's comments last week that he wasn't walking away from the negotiating table. The deal would include $300 billion in deficit reduction and nearly $370 billion for energy and climate programs over the next decade. Specifics about the programs were limited, but clean energy tax credits and funding for energy projects are expected to be included. Affordable Care Act subsidies would also be extended through 2025. The talks between the two Democrats were believed to be dead weeks ago when Manchin said he wouldn't support climate and energy provisions because of inflation concerns. Senate Democrats plan to pass the bill in a party line vote next week. Infighting among House Democrats has scuttled plans to pass gun control and police funding bills after progressive and black members rejected giving more money to law enforcement. Kerry Pickett and Mika Solner report House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's team hoped to unite Democrats by tying police funding to a ban on military-style assault rifles and stripping liability protection from gun manufacturers. But there was too much of a divide between moderate Democrats and the caucus's progressive and black members who demanded more police accountability measures in the plan. The schism leaves House Democratic leaders scrambling to find a way forward before Congress begins its recess at the end of the week. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. Courts are delivering mixed rulings on anti-abortion laws after the Supreme Court upended Roe v. Wade last month. Alex Sawyer reports lower federal and state courts are now grappling with old and new state laws that ban or severely restrict abortion. A Louisiana court and a Kentucky court have blocked near-total bans on abortion from taking effect while litigation continues. That contrasts with a ruling by the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals upholding Georgia's ban on the procedure after 6 weeks of pregnancy. University of Virginia health and law professor Lois Shepard told Alex that abortion jurisprudence will be unclear for years after the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. The ruling overturned women's national right to abortion and sent the issue back to state legislatures. The U.S. Army is building up forces and international ties throughout the Indo-Pacific region to counter growing Chinese aggression and strengthen nervous regional allies. U.S. Army Pacific Commander General Charles Flynn told our Bill Gertz the vast region isn't a theater that can be patrolled and defended solely by American air and naval forces. To counter the threat in the Pacific, Flynn said his forces are concentrating on military training and alliances, specifically to operate with the armies of as many regional countries as possible. And finally, the deaths of 53 migrants trapped in a trailer near the southern U.S. border last month has reverberated across the smuggling community. Stephen Dinan reports migrants themselves told Border Patrol agents they heard about the tragedy and feared for their lives when they were loaded into trucks or into cars to try to make their way from the border into the interior of the United States. However, few of them appear to have been deterred from attempting the perilous journey. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.